Good afternoon and welcome to the Tales of the TT Live, powered by Podium Vodka, the spirit of motorsport. So this afternoon, have we got a treat for you? We've got Mr. Martin Brunnschweiler of Bushy's Ale. Now, I don't know about you, but when I go back home for the TT, my first point of call, my first drink that I like to get my hands on is a pint of Bushy's Ale. It is delicious. And I go way back over the years with that. And so I'm absolutely honored to invite Martin onto the show today and hear all about the history of Bushy's. And we all know, if you're a fan of the TT, you've been lucky enough to get over for the event, you know that the huge entertainment that's provided over there is dominated by the Bushy's TT Village. So we're going to get onto that and get onto some of the footage that we've experienced over the years as well. So without further ado, I'm going to invite the wonderful Martin on the show.
Hi there.
Hey, Martin.
How are you doing?
Great, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to be invited on.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. So tell us where you are, Martin. Quite a nice little setting you got there.
Yeah, I'm at the upstairs at the Bay Hotel, which is on Port Erin Beach, and yeah, it's quite a nice day now. It's been mixed weather we've been having, but no, it's a lovely day, and yeah, looking forward to telling you about what we're up to.
Yes. So it's quite a little spot, a beautiful little beach down there. You're normally building the stage for TT, so it would be just buzzing around there right now on Senior Race Day, wouldn't it?
It would be, yes. I mean, normally in a normal year, there'd be a music stage on the beach for 10 nights. That's when it normally runs, and yeah, it would normally go through. You'll see some pictures there of what's happened in the past. And now, when the weather's nice, there's nowhere nicer. But obviously, this year it's not really to be. But yeah, there's a shot of the stage.
Fantastic. So you have live music on every single night of TT, or 10 nights of the TT fortnight?
For 10 nights, that's right. And right. Yeah, and it's been, I think, I can't remember, it's been about 18 years we've done that down in Port Erin now, so that's become established as part of the TT entertainment down south.
Brilliant. Great. So fun.
Yeah.
So how long have you been at the Bay, Martin?
Good. It'll be nearly 20 years. Wow. Yeah, it was 2001 that we moved in. The pub had been closed for quite a few years before we took it on, and we had to reopen. No, but it was quite a big refit we had to do, refurbishment. But no, it's a lovely spot, and now we're delighted to be associated.
Look at the webcam. There you go.
Well, that's a photograph out the window, which is basically now that's the webcam. It takes a shot every 30 seconds. So yeah, that's the view that we get out of our kitchen window.
One of the best beaches on the Isle of Man, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a lovely spot, and as I said, when the weather's nice, there's nowhere nicer. Very good.
So, Martin, Bushy's Ale, that infamous logo, and gosh, how old is the beer now? How old is the?
It was 30. It'll be 35 years. It was
35.
I know, 1985. That's when I started messing around trying to brew beer, and that was in the old basement of the old pub in Victoria Street in Douglas. So yeah, 85 was, and it was literally just one brew. It was just a big home brew kit, really, down in the basement, and we had one pipe which went up into the bar, and it was a very, very simple operation. And I was doing the brewing as well as cooking in the pub, and yeah, it was interesting times. And that was probably for did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then a few things happened brewing wise on the island. The two big breweries got together, Opals and Castletown. And they, by doing that, they sold a whole load of pubs off, and that made us think, well, let's expand on the brewing. So it was in 1990 that we moved out to where we are now. So we'll have been there 30 years later this year. Incredible.
Wow. Yeah. I remember growing up, I used to hear my mum and dad talking about Bushy's. And then when I was a teenager, I managed to get in there, you know, obviously when I was old enough. I remember seeing it and thinking, wow, this is the famous Bushy's. I'd always heard about it from my dad. And when I was in there, I could feel like the authenticity of the place, and it was great. Huge part of being a Manx girl, and my granddad loves the ale as well, so it's been passed on through the generations.
Excellent. That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
But it just sort of evolved. It was 85 was the first TT that I was associated with, and that's an interesting chap. That was he's no longer with us, but that's Michael Jackson in the centre in the blue suit, who was his nickname is the Beer Hunter. He had some TV programs on Channel 4, and basically he was just an absolute. He's revered in America as a beer and whiskey writer, and we had the privilege. He came over in 1990, and he cut the ribbon when we first opened up. So,
oh wow.
That was a big coup for us to get Mike. That picture's down in London at the Great British Beer Festival. We roped him down for a photograph. So that's my wife Debbie actually, and she hates people pointing out she's holding a cigarette. She hasn't smoked for a long time, but we've got the evidence there.
Brilliant. So I'd like to pick your brain about, this is a perfect picture to come to for it. Pick your brain about the ingredients, Martin.
Well, yes.
So that delicious pint, where do the ingredients come from?
Well, it's the Isle of Man, which I'm sure people who know about beer know that we're one of the few places in the world, and we have our own beer purity laws. So, which basically means by law we're not allowed to put anything in the beer which isn't malt, sugar, hops, and water and yeast. And only Germany has a more strict law, which they don't allow sugar, but the Isle of Man would allow sugar. So, but what it means is, our Manx beer is guaranteed to be pure by law. And we've obviously complied with that since we started, and we're very proud to. And to me, it's a feather in the Isle of Man's cap. It just adds to the authenticity of the place. That our beer, and we're very proud to say that we're the only beer anywhere that uses Manx grown barley. We use a percentage of barley which is grown on the island, and as I said, it's lovely to be able to say that it's pure by law.
Fantastic. And what about the remaining, like the hops and the rest of the? Where do you source those from?
The hops mainly come from Kent and Herefordshire. Unfortunately, the island's climate wouldn't be suitable for growing hops. But certainly barley is which is the main ingredient. That is the hops are more of a flavouring. It gives it the aroma and the bitterness. But the barley, the malted barley, is that's the main ingredient. Manx, well, it's only a percentage. I have to say, we don't make it enough. We don't grow enough on the island to completely go 100% Manx. But anyway, it's nice to be able to even say there's a percentage in there.
So I spotted that teacher,
and it's obviously.
Go for it,
yeah. Yeah, well, that's the I'm wearing it now. Actually, which way is it? It's the cancelled T-shirt, which Amy Cooper came up with the design. She's also done this poster behind me, which she did for it's for the Mod Sunday. Can you see that? Yeah, that was a poster fantastic. That she did. Mod Sunday, so that's when we have all the Northern Soul. That's the one. Well done. And Amy. No, we've got a few artists who do different things for us. Ori Lewin's another one who does a lot of our artwork, and he's done that. He's done the TT designs for the last few years. So no, we've got some great graphic artists who we can call on to come up with different designs.
Because it's infamous, isn't it? Your designs. It's very well. When it's a Bushy's design.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, it wasn't really a sort of. It's just sort of evolved that way. It wasn't ever a big master plan. There was a chap who started. Well, there were two chaps who started it. It was back in '85 when we were first in the pub and wanting to come up with a name for beer and everything. One was Charlie Cannell, who's unfortunately neither of these people are with us anymore. But Charlie Cannell, he was a wonderful graphic artist. It was his concepts to come up with the name Bushy and the fox and everything like that. And he was too busy with other stuff, so he handed his original thoughts onto another wonderful artist called John Herdman. Everyone knows him as Hurdy. Hurdy did it for at least 20 years for us until he passed away in 2007. So he was there all the way up to the centenary in 2007. And no, it was just wonderful, these designs. You know, as you say, people they just remember, and the stickers. You know, the stickers go everywhere. We've had people sending back pictures of stickers on all the all over the world, literally on sort of on landmarks and in all sorts of places. And funnily enough, because of the TT being cancelled, we probably weren't thinking of doing a sticker or a T-shirt this year, but we had to out of pressure. People were really they were really keen to get one. They were saying that, you know, they've got to keep the collections up to date. So that was the cancelled design that you can see on the shirt and on the sticker. Great. And we're dishing out lots of stickers. You can, incidentally, if people are looking for a sticker, the people who are handling that for us, well, that's a pump clip. That was a lovely honey beer that we do, wild thing. But no, ttshirts.com. They're sending stickers out to people, either with or without a T-shirt. Mervyn down at the shop in Douglas, he's happy to send those worldwide. So if people are really looking for a 2020 sticker, otherwise they can come next year, and we'll make sure we've got plenty to dish out. So
excellent.
People don't have to worry about missing one.
I just want to go back to the fox, Martin. Could you fill us in on the full story about the fox? Yeah,
it's a funny story, really, because again, there he is. It was Charlie Cannell who came up with the concept. And we didn't. It's so hard when you're trying to think of a name, hard to know what to come up with. But again, I'm sure local people know there are no foxes in the Isle of Man. Same as lots of other things. You know, we've got no moles, and we've got no badgers, we've got no squirrels. No squirrels. But anyway, Charlie came up with this sort of funny story about this fox called Bushy, who was the only fox in the Isle of Man, and he brewed his own beer, and that's where the first beer came along, which he called Old Bushy Tail. And basically, if I'm being honest, I didn't really like it. It didn't work for me, but when I asked around, a few people, you know, everyone's thought it was great, so I just bowed to their sort of pressure, and that's where the name Bushy's came from, with Bushy the fox, and as I said, Old Bushy Tail. And all the puns that have gone with it, and he's got his own character now. He's moved on with the years, and he's obviously a biking fox with his goggles. And no, it's as you say, he's just become part of the furniture now, and people expect to see Bushy the fox in all sorts of strange positions. As I said, he's even riding a scooter behind me, a Lambretta, which I'm sure that was never part of the plan.
Brilliant. So, Martin, I'm just going to touch on. We've had some comments. So, do remember, everyone, if you tuned in and you want to fire any questions at Martin, please do share. It is an interactive experience. So, we've got Philip Fireblade Phil Nelms says he's missing the cracking Bushies this year. So, keep up the good work. So am I. I'm right there with you, Philip. Paul Carpenter says, got one of those T-shirts. Awesome. And how did you come up with the thought of the bottle van? So let's move on to that. I've seen this when I'm over there.
Well, actually, there are 3 in existence, which basically it was my brother Andy Brunnschweiler who came up with the. Well, when we were kids, there are some very old bottle cars. There's one of them, but they're very old 1920s bottle cars, which Bass used to drive around, and they were based on they were on a Bentley, I think, or a Rolls-Royce chassis. So they were very. And we saw one when we were kids. We saw one in the London to Brighton car rally. And I think we were just back in the late 80s. We were just flicking through some old pictures, and we saw this Bass beer bottle. And I said, "Wouldn't it be brilliant to come to do a Bushy's one?" And my brother Andy, who's a mechanic, he came up. He said, "Well, if you're serious," because he did his apprenticeship with Citroën as a mechanic. and he said he could knock one up based on a Citroen 2CV, a De Chauffeur chassis. So, and that's basically what you see. So, he made three. He drives one around up in Lancashire, so they're quite well known. Bushy's bottle car over in that part of the world. I drive one. I drive the one that you see there on the picture, and we've got a third one which it's in need of some refurbishment. It's very old and it needs a bit of work, but I'm sure we'll get that one back on the road. And it's basically that's my company car.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
No, they do. They turn their heads. It's interesting because you can nearly always tell if people are first time visitors to the island, because basically I've been driving one around for over 30 years now, and they're second nature to locals. You know, most people will hardly turn their head, but if people stop and point, you know, then you'll know that they're probably first time visitors to the island. And it's sometimes. But my wife Debbie, she often says that we feel like Noddy and Big Ears when people are just waving, everybody waving to us. It's a nice, it brings a smile to people's faces. So it's a nice thing to drive.
And some cheeky monkeys stole the top, didn't they, one time?
They did last year. It was parked outside the Villa Marina overnight, and that's a picture of. We actually put the bottle car. That's my wife Debbie. That's down at the Motor Museum in Bewley, down in Hampshire. They had an exhibition on interesting vehicles, which basically represented the products that you saw. So next to me, behind Debbie there, that's a bird's eye pea. And there was a Cadbury's cream egg, and all sorts of things like that. There was a Westler's hot dog, and so we were the Bushy's bottle car. But last year there was an incident when somebody, I'm guessing they must have come, they'd had a few too many coming out of the nightclubs, and somebody ripped the cap off. So it was a bit of a sorry sight, but we called their bluff. And that's the original. That's one of the original Worthington bottle cars. So that was what gave us the idea of building a bottle car for Bushy's. So that will be like a 1920s, a very old one. And that's a little picture. There's a picture there of the fleets that you can see a bit lower down. There's one with the three of them, with the three of them lined up. That was out at the brewery. But anyway, So anyway, we when the cat was pinched, we put the message out on Manx radio that we had clear footage on the CCTV, and that if the cat was brought back, there'd be no questions asked, and we wouldn't take it any further. And as it happened, the cat turned up within the hour. It was dropped off and anonymously. It just appeared. So that was quite a nice result. And we got some good PR out of that.
Brilliant. It's a positive way to look back on it. Definitely.
Oh
positive
yeah, definitely.
Reflection.
Definitely. No, sorry.
That's okay. So Martin, you've had so many over the years. The branding is famous, so with all the different designs of the labels that have come out over the years, but it's also the ales that you've produced.
Yes.
There's some great stories from some of the ales that you've produced, and one that came up within our team is Gibraltar, when you created one for the 300th anniversary. Is that right?
That's right.
You could tell us a bit about that story.
Yeah, well, we've got my wife and I a very strong affection with Gibraltar. We started going there. That was nearly 20 years ago, and we basically we decided we made friends with some people who ran bars and also who import beer into Gibraltar, and we make a special bottled beer for them. And it was we did a special label for the bottle, which commemorated the 300th anniversary of Gibraltar basically being British. And then there was another one, which was a few years later for the 300th anniversary of the Battle of Trafalgar. So we like doing little Oh yeah, there's a team. You can see a team of the Gibraltar people wearing Bushy's red Bushy's GBZ t-shirts, which we supplied them all with. And no, we've made some very good friends in Gib. That's the you'll see the Lewis Stagnettos. They're the people who sell the beer and import it on our behalf. We've made very good friends there with Morris and Paula and their team. And no, it's just a nice association. Incidentally, Debbie and I, we drove the bottle car down there a few years ago. I know it was a 3-day. It was a 3-day drive down from the Isle of Man. Very. It was basically they're not the fastest, the fastest vehicles at the best of time, but these are all out places in Gib that sell the bottles for us.
Fantastic.
And no, it's a lovely. We love Gibraltar, and it's a very nice. It's a nice little association, and no, it's all fun. But as you say, we've got quite over a year. We probably normally bring out around probably about 20 different beers, depending on the seasons and depending on events and things. So yeah, the TT, we have two beers which we'll always bring out for TT, which one of them is Piston Brew, and then the other one's the Shuttleworth Snap, which is a very popular brew. That one's named after the old George Formby motorbike that you'll see in the film of No Limit. And it's just good fun coming up with ideas for new brews. We every year when the Canberra Beer Festival's on, we tend to do a charity brew. So we did a Joey Dunlop one year. So that was the nominated charity, which sold very well. And then there was one for the helicopter fund. We've done more recently for Beach Buddies, which is obviously a very popular, well thought of local charity for people who clean the beaches. So it's just we just keep an open mind, and if somebody's got a good idea for a brew, we'll certainly always look into it. And no, it's fun. It's when you like drinking beer like I do. It's almost a dream job.
I was going to say, it's a tough one, isn't it? Hey, you're having to travel to the festivals and taste all these beers and your own. The stress of it.
I know. Well, it's one of those things. Somebody has to do it.
Brilliant. So Richard Davies, Martin, saying, hi, Martin. I miss the Bushy's brew. I'm right there with you, Richard. I feel your pain. So we've seen some great pictures of weddings at Bushy's, Martin. So you've had lots of incredible things go on in the Bushy's village, in the pub, etc. But I want to touch on the wedding. So you kindly sent us some pictures of the purple helmets as well, included in the procession.
Right. Yeah, well, I have to say we've only actually done the one wedding, and we're open to if people are we're open to doing more. We officially got the license to hold them. Now, what you see there, that was 2012, and it was Vorry. She was the bride. It was Mark and Vorry Sale who were getting married, and she arrived there in the bottle car coming down with an escort given by the purple helmets. They're saluting as they come past, and there was quite a big crowd to welcome her. And it was a lovely day. The ceremony took place in the Bushy's tent down at the bottleneck before we opened the tent. As I said, it was quite a special day, and we've got fond memories of it, and we'll always be open to suggestions if people fancy doing the same. Funnily enough, I mentioned to Vorry and Mark about us showing this today, and they said, well, it's 8 years ago, so it's about time maybe they renewed their vows. And, incidentally, you can see behind there where those palm trees are. That was the old Bushy's pub.
Yeah, on the corner.
Behind in the corner, but next to the clock, which is where it all started. And as I said, we were 20 years on the bottleneck before we got bigger and better and moved to the Villa Marina.
Oh, it used to be great coming back on the boat when the tent was up and you're all set up. If you came back once it had all kicked off, and you're coming into Douglas Bay.
Yeah,
And
you
you can
see the
just
blue
see
and
the
white.
Bushy's head.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
and if you're coming in like in the evening as well, and it's all the atmosphere is building, and it's such
yeah.
a special
No,
area to arrive to, isn't it? The bottleneck.
well, exactly. Well, there it is. That's over the road. And that picture was taken, and I'm guessing, well, it's in the, I'm guessing that was the early 90s, mid 90s. So that was when we were still in the pub. And we didn't even know about about moving to the bottleneck at that point. I mean, we always knew that the lease on the pub was due to expire in '98, but it was just the way things evolved, and we did 13 TTs in the pub, and it was in the final year of 1997 that we basically. And we had a double decker bus at the time, which we used to, it was like a mobile pub, which we used to take around to different events. And so we knew that we were pretty good at doing outside bars. So we put a petition together. Oh, there's a shot, yeah. That's from the building over the road. So, but we had a petition put together just to see if we could get some support in moving over the road to the bottleneck car park, which is literally opposite the pub. And yeah, we got over 10,000 signatures during TT 97. And thankfully, I'll always be grateful to the authorities at the time. It was Dudley Butt and Neil Kinraid. They were the police who gave us a stab at having a go. And Terry Toohey, who was in charge of the tourist board at the time, he was very instrumental in pushing for us to because we had a good following down at the old pub, and they said, well, we'll give it a go for a year, see how it goes. So our first operation at the bottleneck was 1998. And obviously, as I said, it was quite a basic operation to start with, and we learnt a lot as we went along. But yeah, we were there for 20 years.
Wow. I've got a great comment here, Martin, from Michael Pursglove. I remember the burnouts through the doors of the pub in '95.
Right, yeah. No, it was I know. I mean, it was another world, really. But yeah, we used to get some people. They used to ride their bikes through the pub, and you know, as you say, a couple of them they used to do a bit of a donut or a. I mean, I'm surprised that the floorboards didn't actually burn through. But no, I don't. I honestly don't think we'd get away with that these days. But it was another world, and health and safety wasn't quite as strict as it is now. No, it was an amazing old pub, and no, I think lots of people have got fond memories.
And have you got any fondest of like the TT period, or any fondest big names or guests or riders that have come into the tent and made their impression on you?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. For many years, there was a band who played in the old pub, and Steve Gibbons was part of the lineup as well. He was a legendary band who used to come over. He was playing at the TT before I came over, so he was playing since the '70s. Steve Gibbons band, but the band that we had, and they were almost a regular. Part of the sort of entertainment was a band quite controversial called the Hemorrhoids, and they were a Scottish band. They were unbelievable, and they were a very a big part of the on the TT circuit. They were great fun. But yeah, I mean, we've had lots of people. I suppose because the I suppose it's just evolved that Bushy's sort of became the place to come in the evenings during the festival, and yeah, you'd get all the that's a great shot. That was one of Gary Waitman's photographs, which he took up from very high up on a scaffold when we had the bungee jump. We had a bungee jump going a couple of years ago, and that's a bunch of skankers. So they're definitely our most popular TT band now. They're just such a brilliant party band. So that was a night that the bunch of, that was in the last, that was 2017. So that was the last year down at the Bottleneck, and that was the Skankers playing, and yeah, it was. But apart from the bands, you'd see all sorts of people milling around during the day. We had Robert Plant when he was playing down at he was doing a night at the Villa Marina. Robert Plant, the old Led Zeppelin singer, he was milling around, and we've had all sorts of people. A lot of the riders used to come down. And during the day we used to have book signings. Now there was one again. It was 2012, same year as the wedding, but it was when Guy Martin came down. And I'm not sure I don't know if you've got access to the photographs, but he did a. It was just a charity signing, and basically the plan was that he was going to do a tea time signing for an hour, just to raise some money for different charities. And I suppose I hadn't quite realised how popular Guy Martin was at the time, because I think he was due to start at 5, and it was about 3 o'clock. The queue started forming, people in this queue, and it went right down the promenade, and I just couldn't believe my eyes. And he just carried on, and he carried on. He did several hours, and they made several £1,000s for charity. And he was basically just saying, look, he'll sign, I don't know, your helmet, or he'll sign leathers or whatever. For a £5 donation, and unbelievable crowds we got down, and it just shows how popular that fella is. He's phenomenal.
He's a character, isn't he? He's missed around the paddock when he's not there.
I'm sure. No, he's a real character. There is a photograph which I don't know if you've got access to, but it was one of those basically on the day that he was signing, a lady said, "My husband will pay. He'll pay you £100 if I can sign your bum." Yeah. So, and he's good. He's a good sport, Guy Martin. He in front of the whole crowd, he dropped his trousers, and he allowed the lady to sign his right cheek, and she put a Bushy sticker on the left cheek, and there is a photograph somewhere of it. But it was a wonderful moment, and I don't think he regrets it for a second. It was for a good cause. So good fun.
So what makes it so successful, Bushies? Because it's known, you can go all over the world and you can get chatting to a biker, or a lot of the time you'll see on their bikes they might have a Bushy sticker. It gets everywhere. So what's made it so popular and so lovable by many?
I'm not really sure. I mean, it's as I said, it just evolved. I think primarily, we've just had such great staff who've always just they've sort of set the tone, and they've been such fun. You can see that they're buzzing behind the bar, and they're having great fun. And I suppose the fact, it was the first stop when you got off the ferry, or the last stop if you're going home. So it sort of set the tone as people arrived. And it was, I'd say primarily it was that. But we just it was all very the bikers themselves, they're such a great bunch. They've just there's no, I don't know how. I think maybe other places in the world, bike gangs have got a bad reputation, but the people who come to the TT are the best, the best. They love the Isle of Man. They respect it. I don't think I've ever seen any trouble in 35 years caused by bikers. The bikers, if there is a little bit of trouble that happens, they're the first to step in and sort things out. So it's I think the whole atmosphere. And that's, I don't think we can. I don't think I can take any credit for that. It's just sort of happened. It's happened because of, as I said, the staff and just the atmosphere of the event. It's just a wonderful festival.
It really is. It's every year it's just getting bigger and bigger for you as well, isn't it? Like on senior race day, for example, today. Yes. You'd go down once the races had finished. We'd finish up at the grandstand and we'd come down. Yeah. And the queues would be crazy trying to get into there. And the venue's huge now, isn't it? How many thousand people can you fit into your new venue?
We've been restricted at 4,000, which that's nearly 3 times what we used to get down at the bottleneck. And fair enough. I personally think we could squeeze a few more in, but we've agreed that figure with the fire brigade. So we go with 4,000. But as you say, it breaks my heart to see. Once we've got a full house, it's literally 1 in, 1 out, and it breaks my heart to see that queue going all the way up Broadway. But that's unfortunately that's the that's the way the authorities work, and we have to comply. It's obviously a safety issue. We wouldn't want any crushing or anything. So, but as you say, senior race day is one of the biggest, and we're actually this year would have been very. I mean, again, I don't want to dwell on what would have been, but we were actually planning to go for an extra day, because it was going to be the Isle of Man's first ever gay pride event, which would I think that would have been huge as well, because the idea was to have made use of the facilities while the stage was up and all the bar and everything and the caterers, and there was going to be the inaugural gay pride Manx pride event. And anyway, again, we'll have to see when that takes place. I'm sure it will take place again, but it's another nice thing to be involved with, and I think I think we could have really had some fun with that as well.
Wonderful. Another nice thing I want to go back to is the live music that you put on, the lineup you get. You've had some incredible bands playing live for you. Is there anyone in particular that stands out that you going back over the years?
Well, it's as you say there. When you go back 23 years or whatever, since even before that, it's 30 odd years if you count the bands in the pub. Yeah, well, as I said, Steve Gibbons and the Hemorrhoids were fantastic names in the old tent, but. Bunch of skankers. I've got to keep talking about them. They're the ultimate party band, with all the ska and two-tone and stuff. And for the last 2 years, we've had them on both the Saturdays down at the Villa Marina, and to me, they are the ultimate. But we've got some fantastic others. Little bit of Rosie. They're part of the lineup. They always pull a huge crowd. They're the AC/DC tribute band, and we've got loads. I mean, too many to mention really, but I'd say that 90% of the bands are local, and it just sort of shows the quality of local music in the Isle of Man. I've got to mention Lenny Conroy as well, and Justin, who puts the stage on. They're a very important part of our the way that the music has been chosen over the years. Lenny Conroy, he supplied the bands for many years, and I'm guessing we're hoping to be using Lenny again in the future. But it's just we love to. Local bands have the priority, but we do, if bands say that they're planning to come over, if we feel that we can accommodate them. Mad Dog, I don't know if you've seen them. Mad Dog, they're a wonderful, but they're great. They're great value as well. They've been coming for years, and I'd have to go through the list, but it's just, as I said, we've got lots of regular bands who've come for many years, and we're always being asked. I mean, Harry, who's the right-hand man, he's the man who basically, he's my right-hand man who's made the thing happen since day one, before we left the old pub, Harry Barber. Harry, he's more recently put the bands together, and his phone starts ringing this year. He'll be getting people requesting to play in TT21 already. So I mean, Harry Barber and more recently Dave Wookie are involved. I mean, I've got to mention the team also at Bushy. We've got people who take their fortnight's holiday to come and work for us, which it's just it's humbling really that people are just so keen to come and work for Bushies. And we've got people who've been doing it since day one, which fair enough, they're not quite as quick as they used to be. But 20 odd years later, who is?
But also it's not just the bands and the actual venue that you put together, it's just incredible, but the produce that you brought together. So you've now got like an amazing collection of local suppliers supplying fantastic food and gin, and it's a gorgeous mix of brands that are just thriving over there and
exactly. Well, it was the move to the Villa Marina which really sort of gave us the chance to expand and to increase the choice. And having local. I mean, there's never been such a choice of local produce as there is at the moment, with all the as you say, the gins and the wines and all the food, and the caterers, and it really is. You can come down. You don't have to have the same thing. You can almost have a different offering every night if you want. And also the new venue is much better, having the grass and the sealed areas. It's much more geared up towards families during the day, which we never had that on the old site, because there was always a bit of a worry because you were so close to the traffic. Whereas we're more protected, and I don't think we'd ever really thought about how it was going to appeal to to such a wide range of people. So we like to be all things to everyone.
Yeah, we have to have our podium vodka next year, obviously, Martin. We'll have to bring that into the game.
I'm sure we'll have a look. No, but listen, we always keep an open mind, and we'll keep our eyes open for that.
Fantastic. We got a couple more comments. Richard Davey said, "Thank you for the show. It's great content and nostalgia." Yeah, agree. Thank you. And Paul Carpenter said, "Sad to admit, never had a pint when I've been over there, but know the iconic brand. What pint would you recommend for a Bushy's Virgin?"
Well, I suppose it sort of it depends what Paul normally drinks. We've only been making it a couple of years, but we make a lovely lager now. It's called Norseman Craft Lager. And if Paul is a lager man, I don't know if that's his normal tipple, but it's proving to be very popular. But you can't go wrong with a pint of regular Bushy's bitter.
Bushy's ale. Bushy's bitter. No way. That's my first point of call.
Exactly, and it's to me that's just a lovely, refreshing all-round pint, and that ticks every box for me. But there you go. That's the one, and that probably represents 80% of what we make is Bushy's Manx bitter, and it's just, for me, it's just the right strength. It's 3.8, so it's a good session beer. You can you can have a few pints, and because as we discussed earlier, it's pure, and it's pure by law. That you shouldn't be having any hangovers because of any impure ingredients or anything like that. It's just a nice strength, and you can just sort of sip it all day long.
Love it. Great. Good, great, Martin. Thank you so much. So,
okay,
what's next for you guys then? What have you got coming up? Because you can open up soon, or what's happening?
Well, I mean, it's very topical, because it was just yesterday that the Chief Minister announced that the Isle of Man is going to do away, or certainly it's not going to be a legal requirement for the social distancing. So, I mean, we were hopeful that it might have been reduced from 2 down to 1 metre, but no, they've actually decided that because the Isle of Man is over 3 weeks free of the virus, and there haven't been any new cases, that next week will be it'll be a full 28 days. It'll be a full month, and assuming that there aren't any new cases, that's when they're going to do away with social distancing, which basically means pubs can get back to normal. And you won't have to have these. Pubs were very worried about having to, impose measures about you're not allowed to go to the bar, and you're not allowed to, it has to be table service and all that sort of stuff. But it's looking as if none of that is going to have to be put in place now. So our hope is that by the end of this month, pubs will pretty well be going back to normal. And although obviously the TT's been overlooked, and the Manx Grand Prix is not going to be happening in August, September either, but that's understandable because that is primarily an event for visitors. But we're hopeful that we can get involved with some local events, things that are just mainly for local people down. Say, for instance, the Port Erin Beach Festival, which there's looking like there might be something planned for the August bank holiday. I'd love to think that the stage could go up on the beach and take advantage of the rest of the summer, and put some music on down there. And I mean, I think we're really encouraged now in the licensing trade that that we can start to think about the rest of the summer, and and that's probably going to be the main sort of focus that we're going to be looking at now, and hoping that we've got enough beer brewed.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. Paul Carpenter is asking Martin, can he buy it online?
Well, good question. The bottled beer has been available online. The people who've been handling off-island sales for us are Poster Rose. If Paul, if he goes online and looks at posterrose.com, now I have to say, because they've been putting a Bushy's Stay Safe pack together, which included 3 bottles of beer. But I have to say, I think it's actually been too. I think it's been too successful, and that we've actually sold out of our bottled beers at the moment. Oh. But it is due to come back on. We're hoping that we're going to have the next batch bottled in the next couple of weeks. So if you can keep having a look at Poster Rose and just checking their website, we'll let people know as soon as it's available. I mean, on the island, there's no problem getting our beer because we've been putting our beers in 2-pint milk containers and selling it through the local supermarket, ShopRite supermarkets, and EVF. I'm giving them a plug. EVF petrol stations and several other shops. They've all been wonderfly supportive, and the local. Basically, I have to say, at one point when the TT was cancelled, we thought we might have been throwing beer away, but we had a rethink, and we've managed to basically sell all of that TT stock through these milk containers, 2-pint milk containers, and we're now brewing especially for those, and fingers crossed we're going to keep those sales going afterwards. So that's the plan. But but as I said, as far as off-island sales go, it's Poster Rose, and hopefully they'll have plenty more beer in the not too distant future.
Well, I'm looking forward to those borders opening, and I can get over there and get one of your delicious pints in my hand.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Thank you, Martin, for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic hearing all your stories and the history of the brand as well. It means so much to myself and my family. So thank you for joining us.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
I look forward to getting back to the TT Village next year.
That's the one.
Yeah. Thanks again, Martin. Best of luck and take care.
Thank you.